Hey Japeechen Scouters, Justin here, and as you can see, it's another chilly day in the campsite. But don't worry, no matter rain, nor snow, or sleet, or hail, I'm always ready for scouting. Last night, while I was snuggled up in my sleeping bag, I had an amazing dream. I dreamt that I was on an adventure. I was traversing the forest, I was following the trails, and then, right in the middle of the trail, I came upon a gigantic X. And you know what they say about X's, they always mark the spot. So I pulled out my pickaxe and I started digging and digging and digging, and then finally, I woke up. Never to know what was underneath that X. This morning, when I came to the camp table, someone had left me a map. And on that map, there was my X. Do you think that we could follow this map, find the X, and see what my treasure is? I sure hope we can. Let's get out our compass and our map and see where we need to go. Okay, it says we need to go 65 degrees northeast, then turn sharply, and the X should be right there. Those are pretty easy directions. Let's see if we can follow them. Okay, here we go. Now turn sharply. Look at that! I found the X. This is the exact X that I found in my dream. I wonder why no one's found it before. I bet it's because it's not very sturdy. It seems like this X could just come apart at any time. You know what they say about scouts. We should always try to leave the campsite a little better than we found it. I wonder if there's a way that we could put this X together so it would be a little more permanent, so adventurers in the future could find the same treasure we did. Last week, when we were talking about lashings, do you remember the diagonal lashing I showed you? It kind of looked like an X. I wonder if we could use the diagonal lashing to make an X, so then future adventurers could find the treasure. I bet we can. Okay, if you're following along in your scout book, which I sure hope you are, turn to page 367. If you're not, follow along with me. I'll go real slow. So you can see it on your screen, I have some pre-shrunk poles. I also have the heavy log that we used yesterday. Do you remember when I said that all of our lashings would start and end with a clove hitch? I have a secret. I was lying. Most of our lashings will start and end with the clove hitch. There's one lashing that will not start with the clove hitch, but it will end with the clove hitch. That lashing is the diagonal lashing. The knot that the diagonal lashing starts with is the timber hitch that we tied yesterday. Do you remember how to tie the timber hitch? If you don't, let's tie it together once more quickly so we can get right into our diagonal lashing. Okay, let's just untie this. There we go. Yesterday, when we talked about the timber hitch, we talked about the running end of the rope and the standing end of the rope. So to start, let's take our running end of the rope and take it underneath the log. Then, let's bring it and go behind the standing end, down through the loop we made, and then before we pull it tight, let's take what remains of the running end and wrap it around the back of the loop 3 times. Then, let's slide the knot tight. There we go. That's a perfect timber hitch. Do you think that we can do that timber hitch on our lashing? I bet we can. It's the same exact thing, except instead of being around a heavy log, it's around 2 poles. Okay, we've got our rope and we've got our pre-shrunk poles. So, let's get out the log that we lift things on, which may look surprisingly similar to the heavy log. They're kind of the same thing. Okay, let's put our sticks next to one another. Let's take our rope, take the running end, come around both poles, take the running end behind the standing end, down through the loop we made, and then let's wrap it around the loop 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Now let's pull it tight. Well, that doesn't look like an X. Not yet. Now, let's take one pole and place it on top of the other pole like we're making a square lashing. See how we've made a cross? Okay. Now let's take the standing end of the rope and we're going to go across the X. Let's do that 3 times. Let's go 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now we're going to need to go the other way across the X. So let's take this and come behind the one pole, and now let's begin going the other direction over the X. I'm going to go once, twice, and 3 times. Then I'm going to pull it very tight. Now we need to go between the poles like we've done on all of our lashings. So let's take what's left of the rope and go between our poles 3 times. 2 and 3. And again, let's pull it very, very tight. Now, to finish our lashing off, we're going to go back to the knot we've used on every other lashing, the clove hitch. So let's tie our clove hitch. Let's come around, let's make our X, let's come around a 3rd time. Then let's take our pinching fingers, pinch the X, and slide the tail right underneath it. There we go. And then let's pull it very, very tight. There we go. That's a perfect diagonal lashing. This diagonal lashing is pretty small. I wonder if there's a way that we could make it a little bigger so when we leave it on the trail for people to find the buried treasure, they'll have something bigger to look at. Let's think about it. Let's think and think and think, and then we won't need that anymore. Because all of our thinking produced this. All right, let's take this back to where we found the X, put it there, then let's get out our pickaxe and dig and dig and dig and see what was buried underneath that X, okay? Here I go. I'm placing it on the trail. And I'm getting out my pickaxe, and I'm getting ready to dig, dig, and dig. Look at that. Underneath the X, I found the first wall to our treehouse. Do you notice what's in the center of the first wall to our treehouse? That's right, it's a diagonal lashing. So last week when we were talking about lashings, I asked you to think of some ideas of what we could do with it. This is the best thing to do with a diagonal lashing. The diagonal lashing helps strengthen other lashings. See this box I made? Without the diagonal lashing, it would move side to side. This strengthens it in a process called triangulation. Can you see how many triangles we have here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All 6 of those triangles help strengthen our square lashing. You know what they say, a triangle's much stronger than a square. And if they don't say that, they should start. So, if you can learn the diagonal lashing, then when we can get back together, you can help me build the rest of the walls for our treehouse. Won't that be awesome? I bet it will be. Okay, well thanks so much for stopping over today and learning the diagonal lashing with me. I can't wait till we can get back together in a few weeks. But until then, remember, stay safe and stay scouting.